Hey, how's it going out there, everybody? We are here for a very large and special episode and collaboration here on the channel. We're on multi-platforms of streams. We're on Facebook. We're on 2 YouTube pages. We're on 2 Twitter pages. We're on Instagram, everything like that, for a special collaboration and review of X-Men 97 episode 6, titled Lifedeath. I see we already got 25 people in the stream. So whatever platform that you're watching on, if you could do us a favor, hit the like button. It'll help with the algorithms and getting the video out there, getting the channel out there, retweeting the video if you're watching on Twitch and everything like that. And if you're not subscribed to both me and Fantastic Frankie, do me a favor and subscribe to both of our channels. But if you're watching on Fantastic Frankie's channel, let me introduce myself. My name is Michael. I call myself the Black Gay Comic Geek. And this is your first time watching one of my videos either. Michael, Black Gay Comic Geek, always say the things that I love to talk about has blood, sex, gore, and magic, or any variation of the 4. So I like to talk about superheroes, comic books, horror movies, action movies, all things nerd, all things queer, all things black. So if that's something that you're interested, hit the subscribe button. But just like I mentioned before, I don't like to do these lives alone. And this is a big episode. And I'm excited about this episode. And every time I do something big, I always got to bring my wife on the stream to share in the love with me. So you guys know her, you love her. She's more famous than I am. So let's bring her. And she's living her life right now across the pond. She's in Korea right now. Took time out of her vacation to come spend some time with me on this chat. I feel love right now. So let's bring on the Fantastic Frankie.
Yo, what's up? Don't feel too love. I've been threatened multiple times last week.
You've been threatened? Dang.
People were like, where have you been? X-Men is out. And I'm like, y'all, I'm trying to eat some kimchi. Y'all not letting me live.
So guys, you're welcome. I got her to make an appearance, a rare appearance.
You know, it is 10 a.m. here. What's up, everyone? My name is Fantastic Frankie. I love to do breakdowns. I love X-Men. I did a full breakdown of the original series. So like, if you want to like see some commentary on that, be sure to check out my page. I've also did a breakdown of this episode and a couple of others, which you can check out on my page. And I like to connect it to the original because this is an extension of X-Men, the animated series. I'm so glad we got a breather today, and I'm excited to talk shop.
Yes. And speaking of, if you guys couldn't tell from the thumbnail of this video and just the announcement that I made on all social media, this is a very special episode because we have a very special guest joining us here on the episode and the breakdown. And funny enough, he started following me recently a couple days ago because I started, me, Frankie and we make X-Men content. And then I noticed that I was like, wait, why is he following me? Who am I? What's going on? And so then last week, because of the emotional episode that happened after Genosha, I decided last minute that I was going to go live, and I made a post, and then JP ended up sliding in my DMs about something that I posted. And then, you know how the saying is, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And I was like, wait a minute, I have this connect. How about I ask him to come on the episode? And so he couldn't make it last week, but he was like, I could do next week. I was like, oh yes, let's get it done. And so now let's welcome the wonderful, the fantabulous JP Karliak, who is the voice of Morph, to the live X-Men 97 episode review. How's it going, JP?
How is it going? Good to see you both. And hello, Korea. Very nice. I'm very envious of that vacay.
So thank you so much for joining us here on the stream. I appreciate you. So just in case my introduction wasn't good enough, let everybody know who you are and also where they can find you on the internet.
Yeah, sure. I'm JP Karliak, voice actor. I am now best known for voicing Morph, but I'm also the Joker in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. I'm also Green Goblin on Spidey and His Amazing Friends, the little kid show. And Boss Baby, Wile E. Coyote, a bunch of other people. And you can find me at JP Karliak. It's spelled right there on Instagram.
All right. And yes, everybody, links are in the description below for me, Frankie, and JP. So follow all of us, give us some love and everything like that. So guys, before we fully get into the episode and break down everything like that, we have a special guest here. So we're going to talk to our guest and interview him, ask him about his life and how to get involved in X-Men and everything like that. So JP, let me ask you this. So before we get into X-Men, how did you come across? Like, was it just like a regular audition? Did you actually maybe, because some actors, they just get like sent it. They're like, hey, we think you're good for this role. Like, how did you come across the role of Morph?
Yeah, it was just another audition that came in my inbox, though it was very redacted. I think the character's name was like Steve or Bill or something like that. You know, it was something really generic. But I had a sneaky suspicion just reading the script what it might be, and I called. I'm friendly with the casting director, and I'm like, "Is this?" And she's like, "Mm-hmm." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So, but I mean, admittedly, I wasn't super off book on the full X-Men animated series lore. Like, I was a big fan of the movies and, you know, the whole MCU, but I really did. By the time I came home from school in the afternoons when it was on Fox Kids, I would get home for the end credits of X-Men, and then I'd start watching the Power Rangers because that was my show. So
Same.
I didn't really get into the series until I was cast, and then I'm like, oh, I get it now. So Morph was a bit of a mystery to me. But after I watched the episodes and got a sense of who he was, I'm like, oh, wow, I just really identified with this. I did know from the audition that he was non-binary. So I knew that was part of it. And as somebody who identifies as genderqueer, I really resonated with him and his story and also just his tragic backstory and also being the comic relief. Like, there was just a lot of stuff to play with that was really fun. So it was definitely an audition that I spent some time on, and was just thrilled to get it.
What inspiration did you pull for the comedy that you use with Morph? Because he has a really dry sense of humor, and I feel like it comes across very different from the original series in a really good way because they're so totally different from the Morph that we're introduced to originally.
Sure. Frankly, I'll be honest with you, the sense of humor is me. It's like that's my sort of dry sensibility. And, you know, unlike some of the X-Men, like let's say Gambit, where there was a very specific voice print that everybody has in their mind, or Cyclops, you know, so there was very much a sound alike that was happening there. There was less of that preciousness with Morph. The laugh was important, but that was kind of the only thing that we really had to glom onto specifically. So in reading this and knowing A, that this is a queer human, B, that they have a traumatic backstory, and also C, that they're a shapeshifter and they're going to be changing into all sorts of freaky deaky stuff, I was just like, I don't need to add another layer of being a character on top of this. I'm just going to be me. Also, and because I resonated so much with this character, and I also knew that we were going to go on a roller coaster of happy, sad, like all sorts of emotions in this. Let me just be me and just ride the wave and just throw in the laugh as needed. So, you know, my vocal quality doesn't sound that different from Ron Rubin, who originated the role, so it wasn't that big of a stretch, but it is definitely a more grounded, you know, world that we're living in here.
Agreed. He's a wild boy. Changing into the professor.
He is a mischief.
Or not just that. Let me actually ask you this, because this is a debate that was happening or that we were going around. I think it was episode 2. Was it episode 2 where Wolverine, Gambit? Yeah, it was episode 3 where Wolverine, Gambit, and Morph were coming out of the danger room, and we saw all of the different times that Rogue and Magneto were in the danger. He's like, "Oh, there's this time Morph." He was basically egging Gambit on. Well, do you think that Morph went in and made those different schedules to kind of piss Gambit off, or was that actually Rogue and Magneto scheduling that time?
Oh, that's nasty. That's a very good question. I wouldn't put it past him. I mean, I kind of consider Morph to be sort of like the Loki of the X-Men, of just
For
like,
sure.
you know, screwing around with people. I mean, he is Wolverine's best friend, but the tough love that he gave Wolverine turning into Jean and saying all that nasty shit to him, like, you know, he gets away with a lot. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't, yeah. I like that. I'm gonna retcon that. Sure. Yeah. It was him. He put it in there all along.
We spent like 30 minutes. I was like, look at these times, they're ridiculous.
We like that had to have been more, because especially if they're trying to keep it a secret, they're not gonna. They were in there for like sometimes 12 hours.
Well, and also that he knew that he, you know, just went over to the schedule and just like did the thing in front of him, just had that knowledge in advance. Oh, you're right. That was probably pre-planned. Okay.
How do you interpret Morph's relationship with Wolverine? In the original series, Wolverine spends a huge chunk of his time searching for Morph and trying to bring them back to the X-Men as a team member. And it's finally achieved in the finale. And now we see a closeness and a bond between them. That it's very interesting. So I'm interested to hear, like, how did you interpret their relationship and how are you playing it through the series?
Now I know you're gonna say something about this, so hang on.
Because we've already talked
about this a little bit
about it,
but truthfully, I really find a queer straight relationship, a friendship, so much more interesting than Morph being a queer guy pining after a straight guy. And Wolverine might not be straight. You are I know you said that, and you're right in that. But you know, the storyline that we're going on is really the love triangle of Scott and Logan and Jean. So regardless
that goes.
Yeah. So regardless of what Wolverine's sexuality might actually be, Morph is not on the table for this. And rather than have him just be sort of the sad gay of the 90s, which was such a 90s trope, waiting for the straight guy to like show him attention, I think it's so much more beautiful that they just have this friendship. And which I've had, like, you know, having some really wonderful relationship with cis straight dudes, and that's it. And there's not a romantic tension there. Also, I think that opens up the possibility of Morph actually getting some serious requited love interests, and I'm here for that. So that's how I look at it. Although I live for all of the artwork of them in the shower together, like, yes.
I love that, and I agree. Even Mike and I, we have a similar humor and interaction in the way that like Wolverine and Morph does, and I'm heterosexual, so. You know, it's never really interpreted.
Breaking news.
So it's never really, look, you made Miles fall. It's never really interpreted like, you know, we're actually in love with each other, beyond platonically. And we still talk to each other. We still tease each other like on that level. So I could definitely read it that way. I also love the idea of like, for me, I'm a Wolverine hater. Like, if there are no Wolverine haters, I'm dead. So like, I feel like Morph deserves a little bit better than Wolverine, who's tripping after someone who's married, you know what I mean? And in this messy relationship. So I'm down for it.
I agree with you. And also, friends don't necessarily make the best roommates, and Logan feels like he might be a little messy on every level.
He definitely has dirty dishes and like all over the bed, pizza crumbs in the bed.
I can't imagine living in the same house with him, like, you know, which we all do, you know, but he does not bathe, you know, this is a man of musk, and I think Morph probably would go for somebody a little more put together.
Nice.
Here's hoping Iceman shows up in season 2. We'll see.
They hinted towards him in the episode with Forge and Storm. They showed Forge on the team with him. I forget.
In the credits.
X Factor? I forget.
In the credit, yeah.
Mm-hmm. In the X Factor team, like, or X Force?
Not in the credits, where Forge is like pouring his heart out to Storm about how he lost his leg.
Right. Yeah.
Looking on the on the board. And I feel like too, especially with what happened in episode 5, Iceman was so radical in the original series. I would love to see him like activated and ready to pull up, and like I would love to see him in love with Morph. I did want to ask, in episode 3, Morph makes a really difficult decision to go to the mansion, go to Sinister's mansion, which is like his number one abuser. And I was a little disappointed that like we don't go back to him after the like Goblin Queen kind of takes over them. So I'm wondering what happened to Morph after. Like I know they're fine and they're back at the mansion, but like how did they take in going back to that place and like having to go face to face with Sinister and feel Sinister in their mind again?
Yeah, I don't think Morph is by any means done processing his trauma. I mean, it's in the opening credits of Sinister spinning him around, like that whole thing. So, it's definitely still on his brain. So, but I do think that for better or for worse, he's probably at a place of denial in a way. I mean, after going through all of the trauma of the previous series and the PTSD of seeing Sentinels and everything, which he of course fought in the first episode of this, it's Morph can't catch any breaks. I think he's making the conscious choice to bury it down and to cover it up with the humor that he's got. Like he wants to be normal, he wants to be a part of the team, he wants to be included in amongst everybody. So whether that pushing everything down comes back to bite him later, I don't know how healthy that is, but I think the Morph that's in this series is very much just trying to be a part of the team and accepted, and sometimes that comes with sacrifices of not wanting to be showing too much or feeling too much or anything too much.
Yeah.
But really quick, before we have a question in the chat for you, JP. Are you open to doing a musical episode for X-Men 97? You, Jennifer, Gui, Lenore, and Cal have good singing voices.
I mean, yeah, sure. I've sung in other series, so I don't know why I wouldn't.
And that seems to be a trend that's going on. Like they did it with Buffy, they did it with The Flash, they did it with How I Met Your Mother, and all these other things. So it would be cool to see like a musical episode of X-Men 97. I don't know. They're probably not going to do it, but I mean, it's on Disney. Disney's known for doing animated musicals. So,
but I do think if it happens, there has to be one number where it's just Morph alone in his room, but he changes into like 25 different people, like to say, as to have like a chorus of people singing, but it's just him.
Oh, that would be great.
I love that.
Yeah, almost in the kind of like, who am I and what do I bring? And then just the idea of like ballerina dance, that would be super gay if that happened.
He turns into Gene to hit the high note, Mm-hmm.
That would be funny.
How do you interpret Morph's shape shifting versus like Mystique? Because for me, I always felt like Mystique is a shapeshifter that does it in a almost manipulative way.
Mm-hmm.
Like she doesn't internalize. She's not here to like take in or even understand that she's any of these people. She's like, I'm gonna put on this mask and then take it off, but I myself am Mystique. But for Morph, I always wondered, like, do they feel like they're being all these people, or like, do they have questions about their identity because they're so constantly shifting their form?
Yeah, I mean, we really don't know what Morph's default is, do we? Because we've seen human Morph in the last series, and then of course the like Dark Circles version of that, and then this Morph is the gray-faced Morph, or Voldemorph, as I've heard people say. I'm not a big fan of that, but it is what it is. I think, I mean, first of all, the usage of his powers. I think that unlike Mystique, who sometimes like most often uses the shape-shifting ability as espionage and spy work. I think for Morph, it's more he doesn't gain the powers necessarily of the people he turns into, but he does gain their physical attributes. So like the Blob situation or Archangel, like, you know, being able to fly or being, you know, whatever physical stuff comes with the form he gets. But like he's not going to be able to shoot beams out of his eyes or anything if he turns into Cyclops. I think. Don't hold me to that. I hope that's right.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
Correct.
But so a lot of it is just to gain the physical ability of somebody as opposed to using it to sneak around. Doesn't mean that he won't do that. I'm sure he will, you know, but I think working the underhanded side of Sinister's machinations in the last series is sort of, he's a little more reticent to do some of that dirty work type of stuff.
Yeah.
As far as finding his own identity, I was asked, you know, why the gray face now? And I'm like, well, it could be two things. One, the gray face, I mean, Mystique's, you know, default is blue with orange hair. So it could be that Morph's default was always the gray face and that he was just trying to fit in and assimilate by looking more human. Mm-hmm. And now he's just leaving that behind. Like, I don't need to be that for anybody. Why?
Yeah.
Or it could be that that human face that he had previously, looking into the mirror and seeing somebody who has betrayed his friends and has experienced all sorts of trauma, he might be just gradually moving away from that. Like, I don't want to look at that person. I want to look at a face that I feel comfortable with, not one that I feel has done bad things.
I love the idea of it being both, you know, like I could see him looking at a Head and Shoulders commercial and being like, this is the perfect guy to be, and being that person until he decides to like evolve and move on and leave that life behind. So I love that.
Yeah. And isn't it also just fascinating? Like when you have somebody who does identify as non-binary, or is experience, as I like to say, because the term non-binary didn't exist in the 90s, who is experiencing their non-binary identity without maybe knowing the words yet. Having the ability to look in the mirror and just start tweaking, changing, like, you know, manifesting the physical form that feels most euphoric to themselves. Like, that's super cool.
Yeah.
But really quick, let me answer this question for Perfect. So isn't Scott's ability physical? So Perfect, no, Scott's ability isn't physical. So what we mean by physical mutation is even if you put on an inhibitor collar, that, like, for example, if you put on an inhibitor collar for Archangel, he will still have his wings because they're built into his body. Or like a person that has like a large arm, they, even if you put in a mutant inhibitor collar, they still will have that physical mutant ability. Or somebody that looks like a blue like Beast, he will still look like the Beast even with a mutant inhibitor collar. He just won't have all the super agility. But if you put on a mutant inhibitor collar with Cyclops, he would lose his optic vision. He would look like a human being. So that's the difference between like a physical mutation and a more powered mutation. So Scott's ability isn't physical.
They played it fast and loose though, because like Magic had her sword, you know what I mean? Like,
I mean,
I was wondering about. I was like,
he can create physical stuff, but like he changed into Psylocke, but he wasn't using any power. It was just, you know, just.
But I was like, where'd he get them swords from?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, Magic maybe, but Psylocke, to your point, like when she's not using her like power swords. But I guess, what are those swords called? The like,
you talking about the pink one, the side blades?
Yeah.
Yes. No, but what's that
Katana?
ninja? The two little short swords that they use?
Oh, you talking about size?
Yeah.
Size?
Yeah, probably.
Like Raphael from Ninja Turtles.
Yes, exactly.
TSI, Psy. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he had those, but she doesn't make those.
No. But with that said, to take a step back from X-Men a little bit, JP, let's get actually a little bit into your backstory. Because, you know, especially since we're talking about superheroes and everything like that, one important aspect of superheroes is the origin story. So what is your origin story into like becoming an actor? And who
fell
like who
into
inspired you with everything like that?
fell into a vat of acid. No. Yeah. I mean, I always had the performance bug. I always wanted to do some type of acting. I was a huge fan of cartoons as a kid, but I was always under the assumption that doing cartoon voices wasn't a job. It was something that people let you do because it just seemed too fun. There was no way that could be an actual employment. So when I saw Robin Williams in Aladdin, I assumed like, oh, okay, so if I become a big Hollywood actor, then they will let me do voiceover. So that was kind of my trajectory, like, oh, let me go to college and study acting, and then get on screen and become famous, and then voiceover. Luckily, I had teachers in college who kind of were like, oh, or you could just audition for voiceover, that's a thing too. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that works. But yeah, I mean, I did a lot of theater. I always enjoyed performing and comedy, and I did a bunch of improv. But voiceover was really always the trajectory. And even when I was still pursuing on camera, I started realizing that while in on camera, I was getting so typecast as like, hey, girl, in voiceover, I could play anything. And I was getting to play all sorts of roles. I mean, I played Boss Baby. Like, it's there's just a lot more freedom that has nothing to do with this.
Yeah, not a Boss Baby. You played the Joker, like so many different facets. That's the great thing about voiceover. So were you able to was your focus mostly on voiceover animation, or did you also do voiceover commercial narration thing?
Yeah, I mean, I do video games. I do
audiobooks.
No. I have so much mad respect for people that can do audiobooks. Those are long days. Yeah. It is hard. And especially for people starting out, you're not only working those long days, but you're editing that book yourself as you're going.
Oh wow.
That's a lot of work.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, me neither. I thought they just went to a studio, did their voice, and left.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Once you're doing like the big name books, like for Random House or Penguin or something like that, like sure, yeah. But if you're just, all those little self-published books that are on Audible or that, or where people kind of cut their teeth, yeah, they edit those themselves.
Wow,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I just lost my train of thought. I just had another question that I wanted to ask you, and I just lost it. Crap. But let me pivot really quick, and it'll hopefully come to me. But guys, we got 131 people watching in the stream right now. Thank you guys so much for joining us here with our very special guest, JP Karliak. If you're watching on YouTube and you want to get a question out to us, of course, I'm watching the chat, but if you want to specifically get anything out to either me, Frankie, or JP, and it's not expected, but it is appreciated, and you also want to support the stream and you want to leave a super chat, that would be greatly appreciated. Also, if you're watching on Instagram, for whatever reason, StreamYard doesn't show me the Instagram comments. So if you do want to leave a comment that you want to get to our eyes, come to either YouTube or Twitter, and I will see the comments, because for whatever reason, I can't see the Instagram comments. It just shows me how many people are watching from Instagram. And so let's continue on with the conversation. So JP, so before we actually get into the episode, let me just ask you this really quickly. Out of all the episodes that two things, because you mentioned with like audiobooks, now I just remember my question, with audiobooks being shot long, like how long was the shoot for X-Men 97 for the 10 episodes? I mean, did you shoot all together, or was it all like separate?
I had no idea who was in the show until they announced it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it's so cool. Like once they tell us, I know a lot of the people. Like AJ and I have known who plays Gambit. We've known each other for years. So when I heard, I was like, oh my God. He's like, oh my God, you too. But we don't record together. I was just, this is my booth right here. This is my little booth. All the magic, the audition, the callback, the recording, everything was in there. Not really glamorous. But I think we started recording it at I want to say it was like the end of 2021. It's definitely during the pandemic. I remember that. Yeah. And then, it would just be periodic. Like, I'd record an episode, then I might come back maybe a month or two later, do another one, do pickups for the previous episode. They were doing a lot of tweaking on that first episode, so I feel like we recorded the pilot, 4 or 5 times. Before we got, just, dialing in the jokes, the humor, like the action, everything. But yeah, I mean, it takes months, really. And then it's all of those sessions that we record at the front end. They storyboard it, they animate it, they produce it, they do all the things, and then we come back closer to the end when we have to punch in efforts and screens and noises and all of that stuff for ADR.
That was going to be my next question. Did they animate it first and then you record it, or did they record based on your voiceover?
Yeah. So we go first, then animation, then we come back at the end just to clean it up.
All right, cool. And last question before we get into the episode. So far, what was your favorite episode?
Oh, the last one. Oh my God.
Oh.
But I mean, I love each of them for different reasons. I'm like you. I do love a campy ass horror film, and that Madeline Pryor nonsense. What? It was so campy and such brilliant horror, and I like that whole section where the Xavier Mansion just goes bonkers, and the shower scene, and then there's the thing coming through the TV, and then and then the dripping Rogue and Magneto. It was so cool.
I feel like that section could have been a whole episode. I feel like episode 3 could have been 3 separate episodes.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's true of almost any of these episodes. This could have been a whole mini series, what's happening here. But the X-Men show always moved at a breakneck pace. You'd get to the end of the episode and be like, oh my God, so much has happened. It was funny because I remember thinking, this is not shade against Dragon Ball, so do not come for me. But I remember I used to watch Dragon Ball Z, in the afternoons when I was in high school, and I would be like, we're in 5 episodes so far that Goku has been standing across from Majin Buu, just
powering up,
eyeing each other up, but not doing anything.
20 episodes later, the fight haven't even started yet.
What?
It took 10 episodes for Namek to blow up, and it was supposed to be 5 minutes.
Right? And then with this, it's just and the whole world has changed. So yeah, but the last episode, it's so absolutely beautiful and gut-wrenching and so well executed. And I do think that the speed of the plot really serves what's happening in that particular episode, because you feel like, oh, I didn't get enough time with Gambit, I didn't get enough time with Magneto, I didn't get enough time. And it's like, well, yeah, because it's based off of Pulse, it's based off of 9/11, it's based off of those tragedies where so many lives were cut short and we didn't have enough time with them. And it's so impactful because of that. I think it's a gorgeous allegory for just some of the horrible tragedies that we've experienced since the 90s.
Yeah, between what you're saying about the last episode being gut-wrenching, and then also last week after episode 5, Bo DeMaio said on his Twitter, he was like, if you think this episode was bad, wait till we get to the end. I'm just like, damn, y'all trying to kill me.
Right. I know. It's rough. The only solace that and who knows, I could be wrong, but I just well, they killed me last series, so they're not going to kill me again, right?
Allegedly,
yeah.
Yeah, who knows?
So we'll see. So getting into the episode itself, this episode even started different with the opening credits. Of course, we saw what happened with the end of the death of Gambit. And so Gambit was no longer in the opening credits. He was replaced by Nightcrawler. We got
Magneto was gone too.
Yeah, Magneto was
gone.
Which I'm just like, Obviously we know they're coming back, but I'm just like, time travel, Krakoan resurrection. Like I need to know. But anyway, but we also saw the Shi'ar show up in the opening credits.
Mm-hmm.
There was something else that showed up in the opening credits that wasn't there before. It was Nightcrawler, the Shi'ar,
Professor and Alondria.
Professor and Lalandra. So those are the new things and it was kind of like a tease of what's to come, and then also what this episode is going to be about. So this episode started where we went off to far galaxy, far away. We went off to space with the Shi'ar, and it opened with this big old battle between the Kree and the Deathbird, the sister of Lalandra, and Gladiator, and a big old action sequence. And JP, like overall, I know you weren't in this episode, but how did you feel about this episode overall? And how advanced did you get to like see the final product of these episodes when they were done? Or have you seen like
I saw the episode for the first time this morning at 6:30 in the morning.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Even the ones I was in, like I didn't see the first 3 episodes we saw at the premiere event that they had, and we were all just gobsmacked by it because none of other than sometimes, you know, when we're doing ADR at the end, we'll see the little clips that we're punching in for, and we're like, oh wow, it looks really good, but we haven't seen whole episodes. So yeah, this one was brand new to me. I really liked this episode for a number of reasons. I loved the counterpoint between the Xavier and Storm story of them overcoming fears and realizing that they've always had the power within them, and also that their X-Men need them. But also even though I don't think this show will ever actually tie into the MCU, I know, you know, for better or for worse, I do love, you know, the MCU wouldn't exist if the X-Men animated series didn't happen, because the X-Men movies never would have happened, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's like that genesis right there. And I loved seeing original design Ronan. And I loved seeing, you know, hearing a lot of the things that we've heard from Captain Marvel and the Marvels and in this episode. And also Forge using magic, and the magic having that Doctor Strange sort of styling to it. For me, it feels less of an homage to the MCU and more of a reminder that it's like all of that exists because of what happened here. So that was really cool. Yeah, there's a lot of really great levels to the episode, but for some reason I'm always a big fan of Ronan the Accuser, so it's always just cool to see him.
Yeah, it's good to see because they didn't really do him justice in the MCU at all. But
no. I mean, he had a dance.
A dance
battle with Star-Lord.
Well, he watched a dance battle. He did not participate.
He didn't participate, but still, like
if you're at a dance battle and you don't participate, it just means you lost the dance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you twerk, bro? But Frankie, I don't know how you felt overall, but I will say, like, I did enjoy this episode. I did like it, but I am a little disappointed that this is the second episode in a row where I feel like this should have been a Storm-centric episode, but they still gave it to somebody. Like they gave it to somebody else. Like whereas Lifedeath Part 1, the first half was Jubilee, and then the second half was Storm, and then now this is called Lifedeath Part 2. It wasn't even like the first, where the other one was called Motendo / Lifedeath. This was just called Lifedeath Part 2. So I'm thinking it's just going to be nothing but Storm, and then it was interspersed with Xavier and Storm. I don't know. Did you feel the same way, or did you not mind?
I didn't mind because honestly, I was bored and antsy. You know what I mean? Like I thought the story itself was beautiful and a lot happened in this episode, but it was it was jarring after last episode to leave that thread line alone and go somewhere else. But particularly to watch 2 stories of self-discovery. I was like, I wish this was right after Lifedeath Part 2. And it could have alluded to something, you know, something bad coming. And then we kind of go into episode 5. As far as Storm's story, I thought it was beautiful, but I definitely don't think it was 30 minutes worth of, do I want to watch her locked up in a coffin and like facing her fears? You know what I mean? So I didn't mind that it was kind of cut in half. And I thought it was a good.
We kind of got some Olivia Pope and Fitz chemistry between Forge and Forge.
You know, I love their relationship. Honestly, I think they had one of the better relationship. I know everybody loves her with T'Challa, but I personally liked, you know, that dynamic. I really liked hearing her fears kind of talk to her, like, why would you say that you would want to be human? Like, are you really about that? Because any Black woman has at least thought about like how life would be like if we were white and blonde. Toni Morrison wrote a book called The Blue Side that kind of touches on that thought line. So I did think that the storyline, the script was beautiful, but I did think that it was just enough for it to resonate and to feel good. But I do agree, like maybe it would have been better if that part and the first part was just one episode. You know what I mean? Like if Life Death Part 1 and 2 could have been just one 20-minute episode and it would have been great, you know?
Yeah. And I do kind of feel like in terms of like the overall, like, because honestly, when this episode ended, because I remember when we talked before, I was like, I don't think Storm was going to get her powers back by the end of this. And then lo and behold, because I'm thinking, because they were pretty much comic accurate throughout most of the show, in the sense of like Storm still had, like, I thought Storm was going to challenge Cyclops for leadership of the X-Men, and she did that in the comics without her powers. I thought they were going to go that route. And then it also kind of confused me by the end how because she got shot with like something that changed her DNA chemistry. But then all of a sudden she was just like, oh, I'm Black. I remember I'm Black. And then that gave her a power back. I was just like, wait, how does that work? Like,
I think they were alluding to a thread line between her and Professor X about like their power. She was having more of a psychic block, right? Because Forge was like, this has never happened to me before. I've never tried to fix something and it not be fixed, alluding to like it was in her head. And that fear kind of sparking her remembering like, I'm that girl. As far as like that whole plot line against like her challenging Scott and things like that, I think that may come later because Scott is going through it right now. You know what I mean? I think that may come later with her having her powers, with her sacrificing her powers for the cause, and with this tragedy that just occurred. But they got bigger fish to fry than who's leading the X-Men right now. So like, I'm okay if they leave that alone right now.
Yeah, but with that, so I did speak to Bo DeMaio, so a little exclusive. So he did say that, because I asked him about that, and he did say that he did toy with the idea of keeping Storm powerless and having her challenge Cyclops for leadership of the X-Men. But he said his main theme or goal for this series is more about unity, the X-Men coming together and the mutants and as a whole coming together. He felt like the challenging or having them fighting each other for leadership would just kind of muddy up the waters of that narrative. So he decided not to go that route.
Yeah.
So
JP, how did you feel about Storm and just her whole yesification arc?
Her whole Sailor Moon transformation.
Everybody's doing it. You know, Superman did it in My Adventures of Superman too.
You know, this is a sidebar. I really want to know, like, I really wish that there was a character called like the Cosmic Seamstress who like when like Storm gets her powers back and suddenly has this brand new outfit, which is the original outfit, but the brand new outfit. Or like when He-Man or She-Ra transform and suddenly they're wearing an outfit. Like, who is the magician that comes up with their measurements and does the whole thing and the tailoring and like, you know, makes them snatched, and like, who does that? Like, I want to meet that character.
Not even just that, but like she grew her edges back. I'm like, how does that work?
Right? Like, yeah, I don't think that's part of weather manipulation, but
it's definitely not.
Yeah, no, that was some full on magic. I really enjoyed it. I think Allison, who the voice of Storm, did such a beautiful, like, when she leaves the X-Men and she leaves that note and that gutted me. That is such a beautiful performance, and to see her get her powers back, not because Forge pushed a button, which was part of it, but it's really about her believing that she has it within her, and you know, in the parallel with Xavier, I thought it was really powerful. I don't know. I go back and forth between that. I thought it was really effective having those two stories opposite each other, but Frankie, I do feel a little bit maybe like you do about if those two sections were together, maybe the arc would have felt a little more I don't know. I go a little back and forth about it, but she sells all of it. Her performance is just stunning. Yeah, I was really, I mean, you know, as soon as she gets the outfit, I was like, yay! Yeah, I think it's awesome. I'm interested to see where they go from here in terms of her relationship with Forge, because I feel like that's kind of the little dangling thing about, okay, I love you, but you also did this horrible thing that caused this to happen to me. But then it also maybe made me stronger in the end, but it still wasn't cool that it happened to begin with. Like, you know, all of that. So where does that leave them?
Yeah, I'm interested too, because like they clearly broke up in life and death. But that's because she doesn't find out about what Forge did from Forge, right? So, you know, just the revelation and their subsequent argument is completely different. And her getting her powers back was kind of in spite of Forge instead of to help him.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see like how is she going to where is that relationship going to go, because to me it felt like they reconciled it, right? Like when he said he loved her, she was like, of course. But in this episode, she was saying that she loved her, she was risking her life, she went in a tight space, you know, she's claustrophobic for him. And so I was like, I feel like they're hinting that they're going to have something long term, and them having to like kind of work through what he did, or did they reconcile from it? It felt like there was some sort of reconciliation at the end. I like the relationship. I'm down for it. I think he has some work to do. I do wonder if Forge is the one who created or made, what's that white Sentinel's name?
Nimrod.
Oh, Nimrod.
Yes. Like I feel
Who
like
was in the opening credits, P.S.
Oh yeah, Nimrod.
Yes.
There we go. That was
Nimrod was in
the
it.
opening credits. Yeah.
Right. And I mentioned it too because remember he put her under rubble once, and they were like, you know, I put that clip in my review that like the fact that she's claustrophobic is a plot line that like really humanizes her, and it's supposed to like paint character to someone who's seemingly like this goddess who can't be touched. And Nimrod, when he pulls up after Bishop, his first thing is like, oh nah, let's get her out of here, and he puts her under rubber because he knows she's claustrophobic. So it would be very interesting if Forge was responsible of Nimrod, and that be a reason why he knew immediately, like, let me put her in a tight space. And if that's the reason why they kind of break up, I would love to see like Forge love of science being his undoing, you know?
And the thing that brings, and when you bring that up, which is a very interesting thing that happened in the episode before that, was like when Storm found out that it was Forge that was kind of responsible for making the mutant inhibitor collar and everything like that. Like to see a Black woman confronting a Native American man when she's like, you of all people, like it has so many, that line has so many different layers when she's like, you of all people should know better than to work with the government. Like, like when she slapped him, I was like, yes.
Thanks. I agree. I said they're probably an insufferable couple, right? Like the PhD couples who are like, you know, you bring up like, oh, I tried this new Chipotle thing, and they start to talk about like why you should be eating Chipotle. You're like, man, I just wanted a burrito. Like every 2 seconds, they're bringing up different things. But I like them together, and I think Forge is just curious to the point that like it's to his detriment. He wants to create things, he wants to fix things, and he doesn't have the foresight to consider what the things which is like the downfall of most scientists.
That's what I was literally just about to say. Like, even look what happened with AI and things like that.
I was just thinking that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it could be helpful. Like, what you're
thinking
thinking is like, what can you do?
Let me point out the super chat. $4.99. Thank you, CJJ72. Sorry, late from a crappy hookup. Messy. Tell me about it later. Slide in my DM. But didn't anyone talk about that line, Milky Way ghetto? Oh, we're gonna get to that because she wasn't wrong. Earth is the ghetto, but
Earth was being ghetto while she was calling it ghetto. They were currently like participating in ghetto activity.
Yeah, it's a mutant genocide going on right now.
She had so many nasty things to say. I was like, who is this woman? This Alexis Carrington? Like, oh geez. Just so many nasty things. Or like what'd she say, his filthy freak blood or something like that. Like,
yeah, they were definitely being very derogatory, and it was interesting to me that they were, I guess we'll move on to there, that the Imperium, and I can never say the name of it, Shi'ar.
You
know, when you read
the
something,
Shi'ar.
The Shi'ar, you read something for so long, you never hear it out loud, and then you hear it out loud, you're like, that's how you say it.
The thing that I had to use was like, not she is, Shi'ar.
Shi'ar. Oh, I love that. I'll never. But yeah, it was interesting to me that the Shi'ar was like talking down to Xavier and saying like, you're not even. Someone actually says like, you're not even like. You're like a tainted human, like you're mutated. And I'm like, y'all should be like very pro mutants, the power that comes with that mutation. And it's not really a mutation, it's more of an evolution. So like them mutating is getting closer to the people of Shi'ar. So it was interesting to me that they were kind of, punching down on him because of that. And like, for me, for Deathbird, I know she was saying it because she's a messy bitch, and she's like, "What are you insecure about? Let me like punch at it." But when I heard the people of the Imperium bringing it up, I was like,
"Yeah, everybody!" Like, I was just like, "You literally got a blue man that's on your court, but yeah, you're talking trash about a mutant." Like,
that's Gladiator, though.
It is Gladiator, but still, like. He don't look like y'all. Like, he's technically compared to them, he would be considered a mutant because he's blue. And they
wouldn't let Gladiator marry. They wouldn't let Gladiator marry Alondra either.
No, they wouldn't. Yeah, sure.
Like he's a worker. He's blue collar. They not letting. You know what I'm saying? So like, I think Alondra was trying to like play it off on some like, oh look, I got this sidekick. He's excellent. He's a man of the people. Like he's that boy. And they were all looking at her while she was speaking on it. Like, Cap, like why are you trying to like feed us
Simian freak fluids?
Yeah.
And as a person, granted, it's not spelled that way, but my last name is Simeon. I took offense. I was like, they were rude.
They were getting really creative. Milky Way ghetto was for sure.
But I'm glad that Ronan got a little punch. Talk about it being taking place in '97 when he called her a pigeon. I was like,
yes,
okay, throwback.
Yes, and I definitely attribute that to Bo and these like people of color being the writers and like being able to do a call out. But then the first thing I thought about was like, where did Ronan hear hip hop? Like where did he hear pigeons from? Like they just called it the Milky Way.
Distance radio waves.
He heard it from Peter Quill's cassette tape.
Yeah.
Peter Quill's in 1980.
I don't know.
He got a Zoom or something.
Nah, he's listening. He's listening to DMX.
I mean, the Kree do interact with the humans a lot, so we'll say, I don't know, he got it from an Inhuman or something like that. But I thought that was just such a funny reference, and I really love that he got a boot to the face, like a stiletto straight into the.
Yeah, that was rough.
Yeah,
which caused him to bleed.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
good for him. Good for him. That's what he deserves. He was moving very foul.
But yeah, Deathbird was definitely cunty, and I loved it. I loved it. I'm not 100% familiar with a lot of Deathbird and everything like that, but like I was just like, I love her. Like, and somebody said this earlier in the chat. She reminds me of I'm not sure. Well, no, I was gonna say you voiced the Joker, so you know DC, but Blackfire, Starfire's sister.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's what she wrote.
Yeah.
That's what she reminds me of.
particularly if you've ever seen Titans, she gave me that Blackfire energy, who was like almost hedonistic in nature. You know what I mean? Like whatever she wants, she's gonna do right now. That, and to the point of like they were in the middle of a big battle. She was like, "Oh, it's my sister. Put her on." You know what I mean? Like let's wrap it up for a second.
he
I
really
like what we got to see Vulcan. That was a nice cameo.
Bo really has a knack for writing just some serious bitch lines, like last episode's Emma Frost line, like, "What do you need help with? Maybe your outfit." Like, it was just so nasty.
The outfit was trash.
It was trash. It was absolutely. It was some horrible leftover Hillary Clinton pantsuit, but like, they're just so nasty. And of course, everything that Goblin Queen was saying. He writes such arch old Hollywood women, and I live for it.
Wait, what is this? Oh, there we go. Somebody said
That's a
drag queen should play Deathbird in a live action movie. I'll be here for that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I hear that, but like for me, I say no, because she's modeled after a Black woman, like just that Black woman with sass, who's like, you know, always has something to say. And I want to see more thick, tall Black women in media that are like not masculine. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Especially with like the allegations. I could see Meg Thee Stallion being
Deathbird.
Deathbird.
Well,
You know
she's
what I mean?
already
Like,
been in the
that's how I
MCU, so
pictured-
sure, why not?
Yeah, but dang, I would accept a trans woman. I would accept what's her name?
Laverne.
Electra from Pose. I just saw Pose.
Dominique. Dominique.
Dominique.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I would accept Dominique. I would accept Dominique.
Or Angelica Ross. Actually, Angelica Ross, I think, is pretty awesome.
Ooh, JP with the hitter. Absolutely.
I
watched all of Pose. Come on.
But
I would like to bring up Alondra. I always want to call her
Lalandra.
Alandra. I know. I'm terrible, JP. I'm terrible with names, like names.
She is.
I'm since the end of time. I'm just garbage with names. But I felt like Charles was being very manipulative. And so that's why I really enjoyed like Deathbird kind of manipulating him back. Because before then he was like, you know, trying to convince her to go to Earth, knowing like what a struggle that would be to get her entire people. She's working so hard to get her people to accept him. And he's like, by the way, let's bring them to this place they hate, to this like galaxy that is so beneath them in terms of like technology and just thought processes. Like, let's bring them there. And for him to like bring up her brother, who's like out of the picture, I was like, you raggedy hoe. Like, what? Why are you trying to bring up this trauma with her? Like that, you know, she very willingly went against him. Like, you're not willing to give up the thing that, you know, would help you guys move on. But she did give up her brother, and she wasn't supporting her brother anymore. And I thought it was so interesting to hear her say, like, bro, let go of that trauma, please. You don't have to be a part of that anymore. And it just meant a lot to me, because that's survivor's guilt, like going through things, going through discrimination with people, and then moving on and maybe getting money and going up in status, and then deciding like, do you leave them and move on with your life, or are you obligated to continue to help them?
But I also like that even with him trying to manipulate her, she caught on to him real quick. She was like, I don't know, these games might work on Earth, but they're not working with me. And I think part of that also is the fact that she is a telepath herself. So
yeah,
You can't manipulate me like you maybe are used to manipulating your X-Men.
And Charles doesn't interact with people as smart as him typically, right? So like he's using the games that he could use on like Cyclops and all them. She's like, boy, look where you at, Shi'ar, okay?
Yeah, boy, bye.
Well, I think
Please.
it's also Charles is just really he's trying to have his cake and eat it too, and I don't even know if he necessarily realizes it at the beginning of the episode. I think in his mind, maybe he's trying to convince himself, or maybe he believes that it makes perfect sense because he really misses the X-Men and he wants to be back with them. So he's creating all sorts of, situations where it makes total sense that we would go back and rule from Earth or have it as a summer home, and obviously he's delusional.
And he's also not thinking grander picture because Lilandra the Shi'ar Empire is massive. And she is the Empress. Like, she can't just go to Earth and not expect everybody to cut. Like, where are they gonna go? Like,
she didn't even go to Earth to go get him when he was dying.
Yeah,
she sent Deathbird. She said, so I would have been like, I couldn't even come get you when you were dying. I had to send the capos. So like, why do you think I could just uproot my life and go? And she encourages him. That was my thing too. She was encouraging him to interact and communicate with the people of Earth. She was like, yo, use one of these globes and hit them up. And he was like, nah, they're fine. Like, so it was just very interesting to be like, what do you want? Like, what do you want to do? And I think some of that is the power that he misses, like being top dog and being the most powerful person in a room. And I think a great way of showing that was why he put them in class, right? Immediately, which was like, if I was one of the Shi'ar, I would have been tight. Yeah, I would have been sick. Like, why? Who gave you permission to be all up in my mind, to send me to the astral plane, and then to demean me to be one of your students, to be like, hello, class is in session? Like, fuck out of here. I'm out of here. I don't like you. Like, this is why we call Earth ghetto. Y'all don't know consent,
I mean, it really goes to show that whether it's Charles or it's Magneto, the two of them just work on ego. So regardless of if you agree with one of them or both of them, or they're both just egomaniacal guys who are running their own little group of people and have their own little minions.
But one thing, I wouldn't be me if I didn't bring this up. Frankie probably knows what I'm going to say, but maybe not. But one thing I will say, because like talking about what you said, JP, of him trying to have his cake and eat it too. I'm like, well, one cake that he's missing, that he's trying to get a bite of, is when they mention about he has to forget his time on Earth, forget the X-Men and things like that. One person that he brought up out of everybody, he was like, I don't want to forget Magnus. And I was just like, gay relationship.
I definitely think they're playing up. I felt that way in the original series, and I felt like, and that could be because Bo DeMaio is the showrunner. It definitely feels more like X's. But the Savage Land plot line felt like X's reconciling and like having closure. And he left all his stuff to Magnus. Like, that is his man. That's the one that he trusts, the one that he loves. And it's just conflicting ideologies that really has stopped them from being together. And it's very interesting because Magneto got everything he wanted. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, even with that genocide, Genosha is the exact thing he was pushing for. And it'll be very interesting to see how their ideologies align, shift, and change when Charles comes back after Genosha. You know what I mean?
And I mean, I get that, like, obviously showcasing platonic and intimate relations between two heterosexual men is important, but also at the same time, that's a narrative that we always get when it comes to these types of bromance. That's why the term bromance exists, because we always get that. But then also at the same time, it's like there's so many queer themes and narratives with the two, like the fact that when Magneto was like, he was a lingering presence in my thought, letting me know that he was always there. And the reason I got that helmet is because if I felt how much he loved me, I couldn't go through with my crusade against humanity. Or the fact that he was like the only person I don't want to forget is Magnus. Like, sometimes it's just gay. And granted, I get it's Disney. It's not going to actually be gay, but like, come on now, Jake, what do you think?
I mean, hey, Hulu's on Disney Plus now, so there's all sorts of shit that's happening on that platform.
I wasn't with you with Morph, but I'm with you with Magneto. I'm definitely with you with Magneto for sure. It's so clear, especially in the original. But I definitely see it now in the way that they reminisce. Even the fact that like Magneto is trying to change his whole shtick in the name of Charles, right? Like he's changing everything about himself in honor and memory of this man. And it could be interpreted as a friendship, but there's definitely a deep love there. That's fair. Or even like when they first reveal their powers to each other, when they're first attacked, this is like in the original series, neither one of them knows that they have the power, but they're so desperate to protect each other that they reveal that they're both mutants to each other. And I don't know, that just felt very beautiful and intimate to me, to be like, I love this person. I gotta show him, like, he has to make it out of this. So I'd be interesting. I mean, if it was anyone, it'd be Bo to expose that, Yeah.
But also really quick. So guys, we have increased. We have 224 people in the stream. Thank you guys so much for joining us here. Whether you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on Twitter, if you could do us a favor, hit the like button, hit the heart button. If you're watching on Twitter, hit the repost button. And also like, share, comment, interact for the All Gay Rhythm, getting this live out there, getting both of our channels out there in general. Follow Fantastic Frankie, follow JP, follow me. And all of our descriptions are in the description box below, at least on YouTube they are. So thanks again. And so with that, back to the episode. So yeah, definitely gay. You can't tell me. In my head, you can't tell me otherwise. But I do like that we because sometimes we do forget how powerful Charles is. And I do like that we got to see that display of power. And even he said, like, I forgot, like, this whole time I've been here, like, I forgot what my greatest weapon was. And he used his power to bring all of them into the astral plane, to basically be in that classroom, to be like, look, all this fighting that y'all doing, like. And I like that he called them out. He was like, y'all are calling us ghetto, but you're over here destroying other cultures that would be probably just as powerful and prosperous as you would be. But for whatever reason, you're afraid of that. And so my goal and my dream is basically unity. And so I liked him calling out their basically hypocrisy, more or less.
Yeah. He had imposter syndrome for sure. That's what it felt like. Like he's around all these like superior, that's what they're saying to him, beings. And he just had to remember, like, first of all, I could do exactly what y'all do, if not more. But just because you're different, just because we're different, doesn't mean that you're better. And I love that he pointed out art as a distinguishing factor of just like culture and being evolved, right? They only have one piece of art in that entire place. And he was like, you guys don't believe in art. And in that, talking to Gladiator about art and like the beauty and intelligence that comes with it was a reminder of like, we make art all the time and it resonates and it goes through and it's expressive. And that's not something that savages, that people who are not evolved do.
Not only that,
and I love whenever people
change the
bring
world.
Yeah. I love that people bring that in. I know in Guardians of the Galaxy, that's a huge through line with like music and just art. And even with the High Evolutionary, right? Art is like something that he takes from like other worlds, particularly Earth. And I love when there's a callback to like how important art is to development and evolution as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. Yeah. But jumping and pivoting real quick to go to the storm part of the episode, because it's something I just thought of and I don't want to forget. I don't want to forget it. But I was like, for a brief moment, I'm probably gonna make a video about this. Storm is canceled. Because did you notice that there was a one moment where she went full All Lives Matter in the episode when she was talking to the adversary, where she was just like, all lives. She literally said it. She said, all lives matter. All lives deserve saving. I was like, what? Is she all lives matter? I don't know if you caught that, but that was just my little joke. But something that I do want to point out, I don't know if you noticed that when and this is coming from this is from Bo DeMaio himself as well, but when the adversary put her in the coffin and there was that moment that she said, I can't breathe, that was his reference to the whole George Floyd incident that he wanted to throw in there. So I just wanted to put that out for everybody, because like he was just like, yeah. And then also, what were you saying? What'd you say, Frankie?
Oh, you had froze for a second, and I said, "Oh no," but I'm back.
What happened? What was the last thing you heard me say?
No, I heard you. With the I can't breathe. Yeah,
that was his reference to the whole George Floyd situation that went on, and then also not only just that, but he also mentioned that he specifically remember when the adversary called like her family and the group of X-Men like the monotone group or whatever, and she transformed into members of the X-Men. He said he specifically had the adversary transform into the white members of the X-Men. So you saw Jean, you saw Wolverine, you saw Gambit, you saw Cyclops, because he said he wants Storm to like, she's evolving and figuring out who she is, which also is determinative of coming more into her blackness as well. So that's why he mentioned the whole monotone faces, and then they turned into the white faces, and the whole I can't breathe, everything like that. He basically wanted to say more of a message of like also not just being a mutant, but also a black woman goddess. So that was his whole thing. So I wanted to throw that little tidbit out there. So for those of you that haven't, maybe go back and rewatch that scene and you'll see that. But did you notice that like I can't breathe? This is for both of you.
I didn't. I need to rewatch this episode. There's so many things that you're bringing up that I'm like, I didn't
know this either, but it was like because like right when like later when the episode ended, he sent me a message. He was like, "You see, the Queen is back, right?" Mm-hmm. I was like, "Yeah, I enjoyed that." He mentioned he was like, "People, I want you to really pay attention to the coffin thing," and then he mentioned all of that other stuff, and I was like, "Oh, I didn't even notice that." So then I rewatched right before we went live. I rewatched it.
Yeah, I noticed it. I was hyper vigilant during the that entire scene in the coffin, because it was definitely traumatic, and I knew for the character. So I was very interested to see like how they were going to manifest her trauma through the adversary. And the adversary was no joke. So yeah, I did notice that. I did notice like just her being in a coffin that entire time, and like him talking through her, and that suffocating feeling, and the reason why she's claustrophobic, and just her entire backstory there was very well done. And like this, and like I said,
who did both voice roles.
I love that they had Allison voice the adversary as well, because it plays into the thought of like, she was her worst enemy, you know what I mean? And this is a manifestation. And that's why when Forge was like, this is my fault that the adversary's here, she was like, not really. This adversary is clearly familiar. Like we're boys, we know each other. So like, I can't put the blame on you.
But yeah, hold on, because I feel like she couldn't get her powers back with some braids or some locks. True,
yeah,
but
I already voiced that.
Yeah, but I mean, to be fair, they did want to go the original. Like this is how she looked, so they wanted to stick.
She could have looked like that with a 3A. Can I get a 3A curl?
Yeah, I do feel like they need to give Storm some actual black woman looking hair. Like her hair should look like, and then it also works with her power. Her hair should look like a cloud, and then it also works like with her power.
A white fro with lightning coming through it, like that'd be so ill. We're not gonna get it. We're not gonna get it. The Hellfire Gala over. We're not gonna see it. It's done. It's done. So I'm gonna take my blessings and I'm gonna go from there.
But I don't know. I tend to think that they're going to. I mean, look, different outfits sell toys, and I think they're going to take every opportunity to change everybody's outfit whenever they get a chance. So
I love that, JP. The optimist. I'm
so
with
just
it.
put it
I
out, put it
agree.
out into the world. You might get that. Who knows? And then they will sell the shit out of it.
And then there's I'll buy it quicker than a Caitlin Clark jersey. Let me tell you.
Season
I'll
2, which
be
I'm
out
actually
there.
hoping for. Like, granted, obviously, I know you don't have any control over this, but they've released a bunch of X-Men 97 toys, but where's Morph? Yeah, I know, like, you don't have any control over that. Yeah, I know you don't have any control over that, but I'm just throwing it out there. I'm like, where's homophobia?
Yeah. I'll just go on and be and start claiming that.
Because I specifically want to, because I got Bishop, I got Magneto. I'm gonna get Madeline. Like, you see, I got the whole, like, this is my X-Men. All of these are my X-Men toys. And then, like, I got my Storm right here with the classic outfit for the episode. And I wanted to get Morph, and I didn't see Morph anywhere. So I'm just like, what?
I mean, admittedly, like, so for every legacy character that I play that somebody's played before me, I buy the corresponding Funko Pop.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm waiting for the Morph Funko. That's the one.
I think Morph is going to get one eventually.
Yeah, they just did, like, I mean, Mojo has one. Like, come on.
I don't know if I didn't hear this, but JP or Frankie, did you hear? Did the adversary call Storm a whore, or was I hearing that?
Oh, I didn't hear it.
I was like, Disney Plus. I don't know. I don't think that would have been. I don't think that would have been a thing that would have been allowed, because it is TV.
That was the reverb playing tricks on you.
You're manifesting your own thoughts.
Yeah.
But with that, so with that said, so with the way the final episode ended, with the way Storm got her powers back in the end of the episode, she found her strength, she found her thing, and she transformed, full Sailor Moon transformation. Like, because to me, I don't know if it was just me or anything like that, but did the animation style change?
I don't think it changed. I will say this. Let me get on my DC horse real quick. That was definitely a huge call out to the first flight of the Man of Steel. And was almost bar from my boy Zack Snyder. When he like flies with the horses, that like motif of her going through the clouds. So I think maybe it's a break from the type of animation that you're used to seeing. And so maybe that's where you saw a difference in the style. But I also think they increased the frame rate to give that a more flowy feel.
I was like, something feels different. Like, I like this. I actually like this better. But yeah, like, something feels different.
Yeah, because they're trying to match the frame rate of the original series, right? Which is like 30 frames. So they're trying to match that. And that's why sometimes it feels a little choppy, just because like they're not hand drawing it anymore. And it was choppy back then too. But for this one, it was clear they were like, let's go all out. Let's show freedom. Let's make it look fluid. And they increased it just for that one scene. But also, like, when you're emulating like DC, it's gonna look fire. It's gonna look different, because overall it's just a different style. Not just DC, but I think they were trying to make it look more like an anime with that like magical girl feeling and that like discovery and all that stuff.
And then also getting to see Storm cut loose, which is something we didn't really see that much in the original animated. Like, she summoned like 5 tornadoes in the cloud, like the cloud cup tornado went all the way through the atmosphere. Like, I was like, come on, yes, Black Girl magic. But I enjoyed it. But the episode ended. We got to see that they teased that basically Sinister was behind the whole attack on Genosha, which is kind of showing that they're going a little bit of a different route than the comics, because in the comics it was Cassandra Nova, but they basically are saying that no, it's Sinister. So, and that's how the episode ended. So, JP, let me ask you before we fully wrap up. Obviously, you can't say anything about the season or everything like that, so I'm not going to ask you that. But for season 2, like, where would you like to see Morph's character in season 2? Based on how he, obviously, like, you can't say, but based on how he ends in season 1, like, where would you want to see him go for season 2?
I mean, I'd like to explore more of the idea of kind of like we were talking about, of Morph getting to find his place on the team, and also find you know, he's kind of lonely. Like he's said when they were standing outside the danger room, and then Gambit goes off to see Rogue, and Logan goes off to see Jean. He's like, and then there was Morph. You know, I think having Morph find, whether it's a romantic interest or just some type of companionship that he feels a sense of belonging that he's compensating for right now. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see him kick the shit out of Mr. Sinister, but
yes,
we'll see.
I would love more to be the reason why Mr. Sinister is over.
I want to see him like, you know, like full on. The only reference that comes to mind is like Christmas Story, is like full on throw him to the ground, sit on his stomach, and just keep on punching him in the face. Like, you know, break that stupid Ruby and end him. Yeah.
And to take his power, take their power back. And then also when we get to season 2, we won't see that trauma shot in the open. It'll be a completely different, more like rainbows and flowers and love and honey until the next mutant massacre happens.
Yeah. No, I'd be down for that. But yeah, I'm interested to see the journey that Morph goes on. I think right now I'm just happy that he's experiencing, despite the fact that Genosha exploded, he's experiencing more joy than he has in the previous iteration. So net positive there.
But with that said, before we go, Frankie, do you have any like final thoughts or questions for JP before we wrap up?
Not any final thoughts. I will just answer real quick Ramon's question, which was Charles feeling the psychic feedback of the Genoshan's death.
Oh yeah.
Yes, that's not just a testament to like how powerful he is to be like in another plane of existence and still be able to feel like the pain of the death, but I think it also is a testament to the fact that he for a minute left that world behind and had moved on, and so that connection he had chose to sever from the people that he raised. And so it was interesting to see like he felt guilty about it, and I think it's an affirmation to be like, you need to be back. You can't marry this woman. Like they need you. And that's why he mentioned like, hey, it's okay to let people like spread their wings and fly if you've given them the tools to do so. But that being said, I thought this episode was really good character development wise. I loved it. I thought it was great. Not as great. It was my least favorite of the 6, but that's like comparing it to the 5 incredible episodes that were like insane, and really just me being like a glutton for punishment. I need to know what's going on in Genosha, and I just was distracted for sure, but I enjoyed it. I loved it, and I cannot wait to see what happens when he and Storm pull up, and the aftermath to that.
Yeah, and I mean, I definitely get like your point of like having this episode right after the craziness of Genosha, but I kind of feel like the purpose of that is because everybody was so emotional last week. This is kind of like a palate cleanser, because I feel like the next couple of episodes are going to be, granted, I don't know, but it
wasn't really a palate cleanser, right? A palate cleanser would be Jubilee in the game.
That's true.
That's a palate cleanser.
But it wasn't okay. But it wasn't as dark and emotional as like.
It depends. It depends who you are, right? For a lot of people, like a Black woman trying to, come to grips with whether or not she is comfortable with her identity and having to face her worst fears is very heavy stuff. And then like seeing a disabled man grapple with imposter syndrome and like, have to fight against people who think that he's less than because of where he comes from is also like very heavy themes to follow up to that genocide. I'm like, if you're gonna clean my palate. I want to see.
Go back to Mojo World.
Fun. I want to hear some Gazoo's music in the background.
We need to see more Morph and Wolverine shower scenes. That's a palate cleanser right there.
That's a palate cleanser. Absolutely. I want to see Morph at a children's party doing things, you know what I mean? Or going to the theater and filling in for an actor or something like that.
Dr. Myrick, thank you so much for the $2 super sticker. But yeah, with that, so that's pretty much all we got here. So JP, thank you so much. I say thank you guys, like you're only one person, but well, no, you're Morph, you're multiple people. So thank you for joining us here on the stream. So with that, let everybody know where else, because I know you just got cast in the Smurf movie, if I remember correctly. So what else? Let other people know what else you got coming up.
What do I got coming up that I can actually talk about? Yeah, no, I'm in the Smurf movie. I can't say who I am yet, but it's a big deal. So, and it's with Rihanna, who I have not met, but hopefully, I'm very excited about that. Yeah, just more X-Men, more Spidey, and I will say there is another very popular animated property that is coming out this spring that I'm a part of. It's a new version of an old show. So you'll just have to that will be this spring. So I guess by the end of May. I don't know. I don't know the date it comes out, but yeah, stay tuned for that.
All right. And with that, also, if for season 2, if they're looking for some like cameo voice actors, if you could slide to the executive producers, be like, hey, I know these two comic book creators named Michael and Frankie, who would be nice for these 2 cameo roles.
Well, we'll have them draw you in the crowd like they did Jake and Bo in Genosha.
I'll take that too.
You know, Jerry, we need to talk to him. We know one of the animators. We need to talk to him. Don't sit there. Absolutely.
But yeah, Frankie, she's on vacation, so you know she ain't got nothing coming up next. But let the people know when you coming back from vacation. When you coming back from vacation and making that content, you know you got people yelling at you.
Everybody yelling at me with my content. Yes, you can find me everywhere at Fantastic Frankie, or you can join my Discord. When I'm actually in America, I do X-Men watch parties. We talk about different things. We're a lot of fun. We're starting a book club. We're reading Fire and Blood right now in like preparation for House of the Dragon. So please follow me on all socials, spelled right here at Fantastic Frankie, for like updates, reviews, all that jazz. And thanks y'all for supporting me, pulling up. We have, let me see, my TikTok is always a strong one. 145 of y'all on TikTok. Shout outs to y'all. Thank you guys for supporting me, and leave me alone. I did all the X-Men content while I was on vacation. I don't want to hear it from now on, okay?
Yeah, for those of you that maybe joined the stream late, she's all the way on the other side of the world right now. She's in Korea right now, living her best life. You see that glow? Let me make the screen bigger. You see that glow? You see that glow? She eating non-toxic food and better food.
Using all this skincare. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I got a bag. I wish it's in my room. I have a bag full of like skincare that I'm going to share with everyone. And I hope some of it's in Koreatown when I get back home. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited definitely for the Discord. I'm really trying to move out of like the short form content. So make sure you guys follow me up. And we can have some fun and leave me alone.
I know that
the rest of the week, please.
Yes.
Yeah, man. I've been eating fried chicken though, so I don't know how healthy. I don't care how.
It's probably in better oil than they get here in America. Like,
oil is oil. It's chicken is chicken. It's fresher chicken. But it's the kimchi.
It's probably not full of antibiotics.
Yeah, facts. It's the kimchi I've been killing. Oh my gosh, it's so good here, and it's fresh. Like they make the kimchi like the day of or the day before, so it's like crunchy instead of like, you know, soft. I don't know.
Yeah, you see how she bragging? Yeah, look,
it's really good.
Korean fried chicken is bomb.
Yes,
absolutely.
With that said, guys, be on the lookout because I just started watching Fallout. And I did play Fallout 3, so I am familiar with the game. And I know Fallout 4 is coming out for PlayStation. They're doing a remastered version that comes out next week, so I'm going to be playing that, but also reviewing the episode. I've only seen the first episode so far, and some other stuff Well, I just reviewed Monkey Man, so check out my review for Monkey Man. If you haven't seen Monkey Man, go see Monkey Man. It is incredible. So check out my review for that, and then some other shit. It's gonna be gay. It's gonna be black. It's gonna be nerdy. All of it. Pull up. Follow me. Follow Frankie. Follow JP. Watch X-Men episode 6 because I'm going live again next week, or in the episode 7 going live when that comes out to talk about that. And with that, we are out. Thank you. 275 people live. Peace.